Catherine O'Hara's story does not begin on a soundstage or beneath applause, but in the noise and warmth of a large Toronto household, where humor was less a talent and more a survival skill. Growing up among many siblings meant learning quickly how to be heard, how to soften tension, and how to turn awkwardness into laughter. That instinct shaped her entire life. Comedy became her language of connection, a way to make sense of chaos and to bring people closer together. Long before awards or iconic roles, she understood something fundamental. Laughter could carry truth without cruelty. This early foundation gave her work a humanity that audiences felt immediately, even if they couldn't name it. She never performed at people, she performed with them. That grounding, formed far from Hollywood, stayed with her as her career grew, anchoring her in authenticity rather than ego, finding her voice through improvisation. When O'Hara stepped into the world of improvisational comedy, she entered a demanding environment that rewarded quick thinking and emotional honesty. At places like Second City, there was no hiding behind Polish or rehearsed perfection. You either listened, responded, and adapted, or you disappeared. O'Hara thrived because she had an uncanny ability to vanish into characters while remaining deeply present with her collaborators. She didn't dominate scenes, she elevated them. Her humor came from observation, empathy, and precision rather than volume. In a space often crowded with strong personalities, she stood out by being flexible, generous, and fearless in her choices. These years sharpened her instincts and gave her a creative backbone that would support her for decades. Improvisation didn't just teach her how to be funny, it taught her how to be truthful under pressure. Becoming a familiar face without losing herself. As film and television audiences came to know Catherine O'Hara, her characters began to feel strangely personal, as if she had always been part of their lives. Roles like the frantic yet loving mother in Home Alone resonated because they felt lived in rather than exaggerated. She captured the imperfections of parenthood with warmth instead of judgment. That relatability turned her performances into shared memories, revisited year after year. Yet, even as her face became iconic, O'Hara resisted turning herself into a spectacle. She avoided the trap of overexposure, choosing projects carefully and allowing space between appearances. This balance protected her sense of self. Fame never seemed to swallow her identity because she refused to let it define her entirely. She remained an actor first, not a headline, and that restraint became one of her quiet strengths. The discipline behind effortless comedy. What often looks effortless on screen is usually the result of intense discipline, and O'Hara's comedy was no exception. Colleagues frequently described her as meticulous, thoughtful, and deeply invested in every detail of a performance. She believed comedy mattered, not just as entertainment, but as emotional release. Each pause, expression, and inflection was considered. This seriousness might surprise those who associate comedy with looseness, but it explains why her work endured. She treated humor as craft, not accident. Behind the laughter was preparation, self-critique, and a constant desire to improve. That dedication sometimes came with self-doubt, but it also fueled her excellence. She wasn't chasing approval, she was chasing honesty. The result was comedy that felt precise yet alive, grounded in real emotion rather than easy jokes. Reinvention at a stage few. Expect later in her career, O'Hara achieved a rare and powerful reinvention that challenged assumptions about age and relevance. Her work in Schitt's Creek introduced her to new audiences while rewarding longtime fans with something entirely fresh. Moira Rose was bold, absurd, and unforgettable, yet still human beneath the layers. The role proved that creative risk doesn't expire with time. Instead of softening herself to fit expectations, O'Hara leaned into complexity and eccentricity. This chapter of her career wasn't a comeback, it was a continuation, a reminder that growth can happen at any stage. The joy audiences felt watching her was matched by a sense of admiration. She wasn't just funny, she was fearless. Her success sent a quiet but powerful message about longevity, built on authenticity, choosing privacy in a public industry. In an industry that often rewards oversharing, Catherine O'Hara chose a different path. She maintained firm boundaries between her work and her personal life, not out of secrecy, but out of self-respect. This decision was quietly radical. She understood that constant access can erode both creativity and peace. By keeping her private life private, she preserved space to be fully present where it mattered most. This choice may have fueled curiosity, but it also protected her from becoming consumed by the machinery of fame. She let her work speak for her values, her discipline, and her heart. In doing so, she modeled an alternative version of success, one not measured by visibility, but by sustainability. Her silence was not absence, it was intention. The emotional weight of being the funny one. Being known as the person who makes others laugh carries an unspoken weight. There is often an expectation of constant brightness, an assumption that humor equals ease. O'Hara understood this tension well. While she brought joy to millions, she also carried the normal complexities of a long life: loss, uncertainty, and responsibility. She never performed vulnerability as spectacle, but it informed her work in subtle ways. Her characters often revealed cracks beneath confidence, moments where humor softened something tender. That emotional depth connected audiences to her beyond laughter. She reminded us that comedy is not the absence of struggle, but one way of living with it. By honoring that balance, she gave permission for joy and gravity to coexist, both on screen and off. Legacy beyond awards and applause. Catherine O'Hara's legacy cannot be reduced to trophies or famous lines, though she earned both. Her true impact lives in the trust audiences placed in her and the respect she earned from peers. She showed that kindness and professionalism are not weaknesses in a competitive industry, but foundations for longevity. Younger performers often cite her generosity on set, her attentiveness, and her willingness to listen. These quiet influences ripple outward, shaping environments long after scenes wrap. She built a career not just on talent, but on character. That combination is rare and powerful. Long after trends fade and new stars rise, her work remains because it feels sincere. Legacy, in her case, is not about being unforgettable, but about being deeply felt. What her journey asks of us. Reflecting on Catherine O'Hara's life invites a broader question about how we engage with the people who bring us joy. Her journey reminds us that brilliance often coexists with privacy, discipline, and unseen effort. It asks us to appreciate presence without entitlement, to celebrate artists without consuming them. O'Hara gave generously through her work while retaining her dignity, a balance worth honoring. Her story encourages us to listen more closely, to notice the humanity behind performance, and to respect boundaries we cannot see. Gratitude, rather than curiosity, becomes the appropriate response. In appreciating her body of work, we are also reminded to value the quiet strength it takes to sustain a creative life. That, perhaps, is her most lasting lesson.